All right. Hello, everyone. This is Corey from Unified Masters. This is a new way of introducing myself with my buddy here, Tyler, with discussions of the divine masculine. Tyler, how are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. So it's been a while since we've talked.
It has been.
Before we go into that, though, I wanted to do our normal connection process for
Okay.
this. Do you mind at all joining me in this?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So with that, we're just going to reset our connection to the crystalline grid, inviting the warm, loving embrace of Mother Gaia into our bodies, aligning us with Source, connecting to the Prime Creator, connecting us to zero point energy, harnessing our creativity, expanding our hearts out into the quantum field, calling forth truth, calling forth love, and clearing out anything from the field that does not serve, setting up sacred space for this connection, for this podcast, opening up our hearts to unite as one, to create this connection, to build and to grow and to speak our truth in love, in light, and to be fully embodied. So, Tyler, tell me what's been going on. We've had probably 30 or 40 minutes of discussion before this, and there were so many beautiful gems. And I had to stop in and was like, oh, we have to hit record now just because.
Yeah.
But that was our treasure. But just to catch up, how have you been? What's been going on in your life?
I've been doing good. I got a new place. It's a little bit of a mess, but we're trying to find. We're still filling it with furniture and everything, so it's a little chaotic right now, but I'm enjoying it. Just finished my first semester of school. Finally went back, and I'm absolutely loving it. A lot of great opportunities coming my way. A lot of chances to kind of flex a little bit of what I've learned in both the spiritual realm and real life, and how I interact with other reflections of myself and other people. And it's been, well, like anything, it's been a ride, right? Ups and downs and checks and balances.
So the roller coaster, the journey. For me, it's been a wild ride as well. I'm here in my apartment in Texas with Samantha. It's been a journey of discovery of self, a lot of isolation, a lot of hermiting, and just kind of figuring out more and more of what's going on. There's been a lot of energy work going on, a lot of expansion and upgrades. Getting very, very woo-woo to the point where some days I feel like I'm losing my mind, but I recognize you got to lose your mind to find your soul. So I'm enjoying it. And what's even nicer, though, too, is that I get to share this experience with a wonderful partner who not only sees it, but goes through very similar experiences, which is validation that we're on the right track, we're in alignment. We're doing the deal, and a lot of this too has been rediscovery, meeting new people from across the globe, making connections, and a lot for me now has been the focus of finding my pure divine masculine self, which has been kicked off through a divine masculine healing group I've been within, and because of that, it's been making the conscious choice towards self-love, because that's when everything improves. I'm so quick to improve my relationships and to improve my connections with my relationships, but they always seem to fall back apart because I'm not repairing the connection within. And so the focus now is, instead of focusing on the relationships and everything external, reconnecting these points in the grid that is Corey. And then as that connection renews, I notice that everything else reflected back to me is connected again. And so a lot of this is going within and then letting the without tune up naturally. There's been a lot of veils being lifted on the truth behind. It's interesting, we were talking about the church. There's been a lot of truth being shown to me, and we're seeing it in the media with like the Catholic Church. That's been a big one recently, and I'm now seeing it happening with people like Samantha. And in my day-to-day offerings, I hear people come up to me and start talking to me about Catholicism. And we're right now working to remove a lot of the veils so we can see truly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
With false light scenarios, healing more past life stuff with myself, and it's really this really is the golden age. It's something that we've been speaking into existence and something that's been discussed for a little while, but I now have firm truth and I see what's happening, and part of the mission details and the codes that are arriving, that it's time and we're about to see a huge shift in a big way. And it's really neat because we'll do, I'll do some stuff in this healing group with this friend of mine, and we will just within 48 hours, 72 hours, something will pop up in the news, or some truth or some clarity will come out, and it starts to feel very powerful what we're doing, to see how the micro and macro effects that we change these things within, and we call forth this truth, and then we start to see it happen in the real world. And I know that right now the big shift is happening. These Schumann resonance waves have been crazy. I've been down and out for a few days, but now I'm coming back forth through the integration, and I'm excited. As people are seeing, I'm pumping out so much content right now because we wait for that window of time. As you know, we have our down times where we're called to not do anything, and then our energy body opens and the universe says, now it's time to go. And I got my green light yesterday, so I'm just going until I need to rest and integrate, and finding that balance. So it's been an interesting journey, but I'm really excited for the expansion and the growth and being able to see it reflected back to me in tangible results. So.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see you working forward and finding that. I know last time we talked, you were having a bit of a hard time finding that balance.
Yes.
So you're really beating yourself up about having to take your breaks, and also you were like, well, I'm not putting out enough. Like I feel like I need to do more, but I'm being told to sit back and wait.
Yeah, and it's because there's a timing to everything. And I had a discussion yesterday with a friend where we both do this. This is actually one of Samantha's friends. She's a healer too. And we recognize that, so we were talking about, she mentioned Eckhart Tolle, and he sat on a bench for 2 years and received all of his insight before he wrote one of his best-selling novels. I don't know which novel it was, but it made me think, well,
probably The Power Within.
Yeah, and it's like, so that, some of us sometimes have to sit on an egg for a very long time, and we'll know when it's ready to hatch. You'll start to see the fracture, and I discussed this in a video the other day. You'll start to see the stress fracture, and you know that it's time to give birth to that. And so a lot of this has been teaching me patience, learning to love myself, and we're so used to the 9-to-5 rat race being go, 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 go. So much of that divine masculine property of action, 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 where this has really helped me. That downtime has taught me more about how to balance, owning the receptivity, the divine feminine aspect, which is just that kind of being, that intuitive, and then finding that delicate balance and radical acceptance, because there's been so many lessons throughout it, but now I find that it's like we were just mentioning this earlier, is that a child, if we look at the purity of a child, when he gets a painting, he takes that painting and he shows it to everybody unconditionally, doesn't care, just goes out and shows that painting to everyone. Well, once we start to add the programming and the veils and the trauma, I'm not so quick to show my painting because of self-doubt, because of fear of judgment, all of these things. And so a lot of this self-love and bringing forth the inner child is saying, hey, I have a painting to show, and it is the beauty that is me, and I can unconditionally go and show that to the world.
Without judging, without that self-judgment of, is it good enough? And you have to sit there and go, well, what is good enough?
Exactly.
Right? What is your definition of good enough? And it might not be, but that means that's good. It shows you where you need to improve, where you want to, the direction you want to go, or maybe it's source saying, you're almost there, you're almost there, you're almost there.
Well, and also too, it's one of those things where that when I find I'm not doing enough, I start to overextend and do too much and try to reach beyond my capabilities, which is good, because what it does is it creates expansion, and it kind of takes my perception and stretches it to the limits, which is a lot of this kind of the fitness of the mind and the fitness of spirituality. But in another aspect too, the more that I start to tune in, I recognize that I am enough just the way I am. I don't have to do these grand gestures of big, momentous, huge things. Me just being a good human being is enough to help in the ascension process. And sometimes on the light worker journey, at least for me, it's been like, oh, I need to do all these gigantic, huge things. But me just simply giving someone a smile or a compliment or holding space for them to vent, or just being a good human being and reflecting that out into my world is enough. And so it's been finding that balance of what is too much, what is enough. And, you know, even throughout this whole healing journey, I've grown to recognize that I don't need to heal. I'm just remembering how perfect I am.
Yeah.
It's like one thing leads to, it's all these timelines lead to another timeline, which has landed me at this point in time, which is like, no, I'm just perfect the way I am, because the healing cycle even too will start to reflect back to me more opportunities to heal, finding more broken bits to put back together. And then it gets to a point where you have to hop off that timeline and go, no, I'm perfect just the way I am. I am whole. I am whole within and without. I am connected. And then I start to hop onto a new timeline where that starts to get reflected back to me. So a lot of this is tweaking the perceptions of self and tweaking the belief systems to the program I so desire, because I can't be completely unprogrammed. If I'm completely unprogrammed, I'm a shell of a computer running no operating system. All I am is a paperweight. Okay. Yeah. So now I have to choose what I'm subscribing to.
I think that's really powerful thinking about that, because like I think we all jump on this path with that sort of like, I want to heal, I want to fix, and we all jump on that path. There's no exception to that rule.
Oh no, and it's then, door one. It's door one to get onto this.
It's 100% where you start, and at a certain point, you get to a point where you realize that that's now your belief system. Is that it's because I'm not healed. Well, it's because I'm not healed, right? And then that becomes the new program you run, where you will be just perpetually never healed, because you constantly are in this state of, well, I'm in disrepair because, you know, I have to keep healing. But the overall lesson, one thing I learned when I had my near-death experience is that there is not a grain of sand, there is not a grain of dust that is out of place, and everything is exactly where it needs to be. And you, wherever you are on your path, and this goes out to both you, Corey, and also anyone watching, you, wherever you are on your path, you are exactly where you're supposed to be at this time. If you were meant to be somewhere else, you would be. It's as simple as that, right? And sometimes we get caught up so much in the go, and or when we're in our resting periods, when we're like, well, I should be doing more, I should be, you know, like for you, like putting out more content. And I know I feel that too, right? As a creator, I'm like, I need to be creating more, but at the same time, I feel this weight that pushes me down and says, no, this is resting time. You don't quite understand that you resting now is helping a future timeline or a past timeline. You just need to sit here because maybe you scrolling Netflix or YouTube or whatever you're working on, you'll see something or hear something that'll trigger more growth or trigger an insight or an inflection that leads to something grand, right? So you have to just trust that everything is moving at the pace it needs to move, and that everything is working with you at the pace it needs to work, because there are so many pieces, there are so many cogs in this great machine, right, that's moving, and you can't go too fast or you'll screw up the other cogs. So you're kind of at mercy to everything else that's also moving. It's all for the greater. It's all to upgrade you. But it's just, it takes time, right? It wouldn't be as fun if you just suddenly woke up one morning like, well, I'm enlightened, time to go.
Yeah,
you know
right.
I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It wouldn't be as fun if there wasn't those, you know, opportunities to see old lessons pop up again and be like, oh my God, like I see it from a completely new perspective. I now have been given, as opposed to reacting, I now have this power to navigate it. You know, I now have options, and like, oh, well, I didn't do that last time. Let's try it this time. And now I've got more information for both the universe and for ourselves, right? For our oversouls.
Well,
so
and it's also
fascinating.
And the phases of the masculine blueprint that's been held within. And when I say masculine blueprint, I'm talking about the action. Is it started with, I need to take action. And I found that all day, all I was doing was taking action, and I was going nowhere. And then that led to guided action, which was tethering to something external that would pull me into a direction. And then it turned into inspired action. We look at inspired, inward. And this has been the journey for me. Is that first it was just action, which is just go, which needed to happen. It got me into momentum. And then it was guided action, which was waiting for external confirmation to go. And then now that I'm really harnessing this creator role in the divine masculine blueprint that I hold within, it's now inspired action, which means that when I feel it, and I'm in total alignment and the universe opens up that door of opportunity, I go then. And until then, the only thing that is asked of me is to just be. Is to just be. And I have to trust and live in faith that no matter what, everything's going to work out. And the fear concept starts to come out. Well, if I'm not creating right now, I'm not promoting myself, therefore the income won't come. Well, the universe goes, wait a minute, Corey, take a step back. Look at your entire trajectory since you connected back to source and you started to do this work. Everything you needed was provided for you, correct? Yes, it was. It didn't arrive exactly the way that you wanted to and expected to, correct? No. But I was always provided for. Always provided for. There was never a day that I was hungry. There was never a day that I didn't have a roof over my head. And I'm saying once I connected to source, when I started this journey, this is when I was on, once I really connected and found that divine spark of creation that was within, I always had everything I needed on the journey. And so even during those down times where I'm like, oh, you know, I'm the divine masculine, I need to be the provider for my household. Speaking of with Samantha and I. Well, what would happen is that while I was resting, she would get an opportunity that would bring about some extra money. And this has happened recently where it provided to her what I couldn't, you know, and so my job was to provide for self. And because of that, I could reflect that outward and I could start to help her in other ways, which then gave opportunities for, so it's like, there's always, the universe will always deliver exactly what you need. It's just going to deliver it and it's going to deliver it in ways that you don't completely get. And this is where we learn to trust the process. And now this is where the step from action to guided action is now inspired action. So when I'm inspired and I feel it within, you know it as a creator. It's the equivalent of like, you know, and to go a little taboo, like, you know, when you're about to climax during a sexual encounter, okay? You feel it build up and that's when the release happens. That's what inspired action is you sit.
It's that 2 a.m. you wake up and you go, I have no explanation. I have to create. I have to go and I have to expend this energy right now because because source and your oversoul, they don't sit, they're not looking at the clock going, is now a good time? I think this is a good time, right? Like, well, you should keep it within the regular hours. No. This is a time this is your time, right? And your timetable doesn't fit within the construct of our human creation of 24-hour clocks and solar cycles, right? Like, this fits in a way that you just have to be willing when you feel that energy to get up and go, okay, I see where this is taking me and I'm just going to let, you know, source take the wheel, sort of thing, you know?
And the structure. So when we look at, like, because I don't want to completely down the 9 to 5 because some people, they love that, you know, and God bless them. But when I look at the creation of that construct of fitting into a schedule in linearity, what you're doing is they are now providing the opportunity to block your windows of opportunity. So like for me, when I get inspired action, I have a window, I have a grace period to act on that inspired action before that frequency lands on someone else takes that action, because once again, the universe will deliver things to you and go, hey, what are you going to do with this? And if you don't act on it, it'll be given to the next person, which could be delaying what it is that you are trying to receive from the universe. And what the 9 to 5 does is, like, so for me, if I know that I have to wake up at 9 a.m. for a job and I get inspired to do something at 2 a.m., what will happen is, oh no, I'm not going to get enough rest to be able to, and then all of a sudden I pass up on my potential golden ticket. Now, that's not to say that's the only golden ticket. We know the universe is abundant. There's going to be more golden tickets that come about. But this way of living is completely different because I've found that when I get inspired to do something, whether it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 9 a.m., no matter what time it is during the day, if I act on it and I just do it and I remove all fear and the limiting beliefs and go, how is this going to work? Whatever. I always find there's a reward, and it may not, it's not always gigantic. Like me, I'm not making a ton of money where I can, you know, but it's one of those things where I see these little things, these little confirmations, and the universe says, this is what you need to do now. And that's been my trajectory. Action, which is just purely blatantly spinning my wheels out because I needed to run that treadmill and feed that and feed that energy into that system that was just a carrot on a stick. And then the guided action, which was, once again, this external thing pulling me, and it always led me to a dead end until I realized that that's when I had to go to inspired action, which is listening to that voice within, seeking nothing externally. And it's been, ever since I went completely inward, it's been nothing but paying off recently. And it's a different way of living, but it takes a while to learn to wear these tires because it's a new way of driving the car.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a new way of driving the car compared to what I've been doing. So a lot of this rest and integration and the trial and error is like this new, it's wearing this new skin suit, and it's not wearing a new skin suit. It's just living from the soul versus living from the temporal. And that's the new discussion, is now recognizing myself as a soul and a divine spark of creation versus the flesh suit, you know.
Of course,
and that's been, this is just the vehicle, you know. And
mm-hmm.
so it's been new, but it's I love how it is now. And because everything today, for me, everything is beautiful, and I see all this wonderful stuff in my world, and I get an opportunity to capture it however I do, whether it be through a picture, through a blog post, through a video. I get to capture it and I get to share it with the world. And that's to me, this is the painting and the orchestration and the art form that is the universe.
Of course. Yeah, this is your orchestra that you're sharing with the world. This is your canvas,
Mm-hmm.
right? Saying, hey, let's take a look at the world through Corey's lens, right?
Yeah.
Like through your aperture.
And it's sometimes really skewed and messed up. And I
Mm-hmm.
reflect back and I look at videos and things like, man, why did I put that out? Well,
mm-hmm.
that's just, I'm not going to delete it.
No, that was where you were at some point, and that same thing that stops you from deleting it is the same thing that's going to guide somebody else to that video, and they're going to go, man, like this is everything I needed to hear. Because like you and me connected through that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd never came across your channel, and I connected to a video
mm-hmm.
from you, and I reached out to talk to you, right? But I'm sure if you went back and watched that video, you'd be like, oh my God, where was I? Where was my head at, right?
Yeah, I've done that quite a few times. I'm like, man, you were so programmed. Like, look at that thing that's sitting on your back right there, eating away at your freaking soul right now. Yeah. What are you talking about? Shut up, you know. But
you have no idea.
Yeah,
then,
but it's my
just that constant. Yeah, it's that constant expansion, and I feel like the world that we're all kind of. It's like, because you touched on this very briefly, but I agree with you that I see a lot of things that are just kind of being uncovered for people. Like I've had a few people in my life where they like infidelity got uncovered or whatever, right? And it's these truths are now coming to the surface, and now it's giving people an opportunity to grow and to change and to adapt and to start, you know, saying enough of these old patterns, like that isn't who I am anymore. Let's grow and expand and get better and better. And I feel this energy, this push that seems to be the start of momentum, right? Trying to be like, all right, well, we want to start moving you forward. You got to start, you know, putting your tires down, like you were saying, right? But I'm definitely seeing that happening in a lot of aspects, and a lot of people, a lot of big things are happening in a lot of people's lives simultaneously. Mm-hmm. Forcing people to get outside their comfort zones, forcing people to start taking their growth seriously, you know. So it's interesting to see that kind of coming everywhere in all directions, right?
Yeah, well, and we were talking about this earlier. Those catalysts, those trigger moments, create the action. Like we look at that as the firing pin to knock the bullet out of the chamber. Like it is that action that creates the momentum to land you where you need to land. Because, you know, the other thing too is that the universe will give you so many opportunities to live in action. And I've been talking recently about how inaction is a form of action. But if your guidance or your light body is telling you something and you're not listening, the universe goes, that's it. It's time to shake up the snow globe. And it shakes up the snow globe and completely distorts your reality to offer the opportunity for everything to settle, to bring new clarity, you know? And so like we're finding that a lot of people right now, and this has been the theme of 2019, is you land somewhere for a little while, and then boom, a mini explosion to land you into a new environment, or to remove things that's going on. And it's because we learn to recognize that these reflections that show up in the form of relationships, jobs, opportunities, learning lessons, the quantum field, meaning the quantum field, is providing these opportunities to teach you something. And once that lesson is done and that contract is complete, but you're not moving on to the next contract or the next phase, the universe at some point goes, well, we're either going to rewrite the contract or we're going to move you into the next realm of where you want to be. And especially depending on what you are currently asking for and bringing into your reality. Just like what happened with you in the apartment, is that there's something you wanted, And what happened was you were offered an opportunity to be able to get out of your last situation without having to fully disclose everything, because I know what your last situation was. That obviously wasn't serving you. So it provided you to get into a stepping stone situation that was the next step on the path, that then there was already some themes running from a long time ago that were running, that you already intuitively got guidance from, and you didn't act on them. And so as the veils are getting removed, it provided this opportunity to see things clearly and to land you where you need to be. This too is another stepping stone. This isn't permanent. We learn that in this life, the only constant we know is change. So this too isn't permanent, but what it's doing is it's helping you to accumulate everything you need for that next catalyst to happen, to land you in your next zone. But what happens is we get to the point where we are living inspired action. So you will know when it's time to move into the next realm, and then the universe doesn't have to come and create these mini explosions to get you to move, unless it gives you an opportunity to heal too. Because as we are releasing more from ourselves, if we have density sitting within ourselves, we need that trigger to happen to create that explosion, to let it leave our field, to invite in more purity. So it depends on how it works. But yeah, everyone's getting their shakeups right now, and I've been sensing a lot of fear coming in the collective. A lot of things, people like end game scenarios, I've been calling it, a lot of this apocalypse, because the waves are getting so intense. We know what's going on. We've been practicing this for a while. We've done this many lifetimes. We know what's going down. There's a lot of people that are unaware and they're scared. And so some of our opportunity is to just be like, hey guys, it's okay. It isn't the end of the world. What it is you are feeling the death of the old and the inviting of the new. Like it is upon us.
In one way, it is the end of the world. It's the end of an old world. It's the end of an old era. But what's going to come next is going to be a more conscious, a more connected unity. Like obviously there's got to be the balance, right? There's going to be people that will never, their purpose is not to go esoteric. Their purpose is not to go spiritual. Their purpose is to live in the physical and just maintain in that 3D, right? There's going to be people that are in there because would it be as fun? Again, right? Like as everything comes down to that check and balance, right? Would it be as fun if everyone knew they could fly? Right? If everyone knew that you could be a mind reader, or if everyone knew that you could get information from the Akashic records, or that you could forward and past travel and everything, would services like what you provide be necessary? No.
Well,
right? If everyone knew that they could do that, if everyone knew that they could heal themselves, if everyone knew that they can crack open and that they were perfect and they were fixed, suddenly we wouldn't need anybody. Communities would dissolve, and it would be just a bunch of people hermiting with great big smiles on their faces, I'm sure, with great big smiles on their faces. But it would take away from what this human experience is supposed to be, right? All pieces of the divine trying to reconnect, right?
Well, and see, the thing too is that so I already foresee that because this is some insight I got, is that if you're getting into tarot right now and you're betting your entire life on tarot, start packing up and trying to find. Everyone's going to be intuitive and wide open within 20 years, 30 years. So because of that, everyone's going to be able to read their own cards, even energy workers. Well, my job now is activation. I love being an energy worker, but honestly, I want you to find the magic within you and know that you can do this all yourself, because then my role can shift and I can just then do what I love to do unconditionally, which is just be me. And there's going to be a way that I can afford to sustain my life and live abundantly just by being me. Absolutely. And this is where I tell people, or I haven't told anyone this, I'm going to say it now, is that if you're betting the rest of your life to monetize off of things like energy work and stuff like that nature, recognize that we're going to land in a point where everyone's going to discover their innate gifts. And the idea is as long as you are living in joy and you believe currently that you are worthy and deserving of all the abundance in the world, when we look at financial prosperity, that you are deserving to be you unconditionally and be paid for it. Now people are going to go out and really do what they love. They're not going to settle, and that's where we're going to see more alignment, and it's going to end war. It's going to end all of that fight, because we are now connected internally and we have no need for discord with anything external of us, because we're all in alignment. We're all connected within. And because of that, we all feel that connectedness. So we won't need to hermit. We won't need
No.
a hermit. We will.
And then we'll stop our judgment, right? We'll realize that Source has a plan for each of us at every step, right? Like the guy working at the 7-Eleven, he has just as big of a plan as you do, right? Like that guy, he was divinely guided to be in that moment for whatever reason, right? Because he's serving the collective both in the physical and in the spiritual, right? Like he's like people always have this fear. I know Alan Watts talks about this, where it's like, in the West, we don't really have an option outside of playing the rat race game, right? Like your options are very limited, if any. And versus like more Eastern places where it's like, you know what, you can choose to go off and live in a monastery and focus entirely on the more spiritual developed life, right? Here you don't have that option. And it's because there's this underlying fear that if suddenly we all got given the option to run off to monasteries, the entire world would collapse, because we would all be running to this monastery and not doing our job. And Alan Watts makes a hilarious and great point where he's like, well, today at 4:75 or 4:25, not 75, there's a flight leaving to Denver on an airplane. Anyone can get on it. Who wants to go to Denver? And not even like a couple of people raise their hand. He's like, exactly. Because it's not everyone, like you're created for a purpose, right? Your likes and dislikes are what lead you towards what's your soul journey, what you're overall supposed to do. And if we give up our judgments on each other and ourselves and just say, you know what, these are the things that light me on fire and make me just so passionate and want to attack it and just do the best at, and we just let people do the things they're best at, as opposed to focusing on what, and I see a lot of this being dissolved, where like parents had their, they wanted you to get a safe job because that's what they were told. And
security,
so yeah.
Yep.
Like,
be secure.
So instead of us worrying about that sort of thing and worrying about what our parents want and what society wants from us, we're starting to realize, and I'm seeing more and more people get into it, where they're like, man, this is the thing that lights me on fire, and nothing else makes sense. Nothing else makes sense. Like for me, it took dying to really sit back and go, man, why was I sitting and doing things that I hated when life can just, we can get called back home right now, tomorrow. And I will tell you from my own personal experience, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
When all of this fades like a dream and you just exist in the spiritual realm where there's just nothing, because there doesn't need to be anything. There's no emotion. There's no anything. You just are.
You just are. Just is.
You just. There is nothing and everything that all exists around you, and it's just peace, because there's no war, because peace and war don't exist. There's no emotion because emotion doesn't exist, and sight and sound, all of this fades. Like, to be appreciative, but to be drawn by the things that make you happy, because it's not the same for all of us, which is a weird part where you and me were talking about a little bit before, how there's this realizing you are God and the center of the universe, but also that everybody else is, and they're all the centers of the universe as well. And having to have that, picking that side by integrating, right? Realizing that, like, the things I love, not everybody loves. And the same with you. Like, your journey is so incredibly uniquely and specifically yours. I couldn't walk your path because I wouldn't have the same get up and go for it. I wouldn't have the same like motivations, and you wouldn't have the same for mine. I wouldn't have the same for Samantha's, and you wouldn't have the same for Erica's. You know what I mean? Like, we all have these gifts innately that we have, or at least if we don't have the gifts, we have the will and the want to develop something. Right? We're drawn into something for whatever reason. There's no judgment, right? Whatever it is that drew you to that thing, there's a reason. There's an underlying, there's a puppet master in its own way, who's you, right? The puppet, you are pushing you towards what you want. And we get so worried getting caught up in jobs we hate, or spending time with people that we know aren't good for us, or situations we know in our heart and our soul isn't right for us. And we get so caught up in that. And I talked about this earlier, where there's not a speck of dust out of place. And I still believe that, even though you spend that time with the people that might not be great for you or everything, but everything happens in its divine timing, so that it all works out the exact way it's supposed to, right? whether that's someone listening here and suddenly going, you know what, he's right. Like I know this group of friends, they don't inspire me anymore. At one point they did. At one point they were great and they were exactly what you needed, but you move on and you grow. Just like relationships, just like anything. We're constantly growing and expanding, and sometimes it doesn't mesh with someone else, right? Sometimes that love that was there has to go its own way because suddenly you're checking out the face of the divine and they're working on the feet, right? And you would distract each other from what the lessons you're supposed to learn, and you have to let them go in peace and just say thank you so much for everything you gave me, and thanks you for all the positivity that you brought into my life, and thank you for all the growth you gave me. But now we have to separate, and maybe we'll come back, but to let them go with peace and love and just say, I hope whatever it is you're looking for, or I hope whatever it is that your plan and your purpose is, that you find it and you kick ass at it, right?
I want to note right now, okay, first off, the old boy's on fire. You are on fire right now. Your light body during that discussion was, if you look back, hold on, something's coming through right now. Someone's calling me or something.
Welcome.
What is this sound? Oh, it's an incoming call on a 1-800 number on my Google account. Okay. Anyway, your light body was when we watch this back, you will see the lights getting brighter and brighter in your windows. And I want to state to you that whatever you were just doing and process you were running and unpacking is in full alignment. And this is what I talk about when you see someone, this is exactly what I love to see, is that when you are in alignment and you are in flow, and even documenting something like this, we saw the lights get brighter and brighter behind you. That is your light body saying, yes, you are in alignment. You are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. What happens is sometimes we do not listen to that voice. And what happens is we end up doing things because we settle. We settle because we still have old programming running of fear, job security. How can I monetize this? How can I? But we know when we're in alignment, because if the document, like looking right behind you right now, those windows are freaking glowing. Okay. Yeah. That is because you are expanding and you are doing what you love to do. So now here's the thing. What is stopping you, Tyler, from doing what you truly love to do and where you need to be? You're unpacking all the answers right now and you're telling me you're in alignment. I know you're doing what you love. But there is something about when you and I get into a creative flow like this that I know you desire to do. Why aren't you doing it?
Limiting beliefs is as simple as it gets, right? Because even though I say all these things, I'm now realizing I'm picking off these little pieces of myself that I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Right? You just said that and you felt it come through and you felt it sift through yourself. Well, why is there still a portion of you that's sitting there and going, but I'm afraid about X, Y. I'm afraid of X, Y, or Z, what they would say. But what does that matter? What does that matter in the grand scheme of things? When life can be snuffed out like that, what does it matter what somebody else thinks of what I want to do, of how I want to move forward? I just want to create. At the end of the day, I just want to co-create. It's in the name, right? Like, I just want to co-create. I want to have these moments where we can have these talks and it can spark things in both of us where we both light up and suddenly we're pulling from somewhere, right? I don't know where the information travels through, but it comes through, right? And
I'm laughing at the lights lighting up. This is so cool. I love this stuff.
Yeah. But and that's the thing, is it's that this is the kind of thing I love, right? Like, is this kind of path where we can connect like this, and it's inspiring. It's almost like it's addictive. Like it draws me in, because I don't know if it's because, I mean, there's every reason is right, but I like to think of it as people watching that are hearing these messages and going, it all makes sense now, right? Or just things with you and me, whether it's unlocking stuff for just you and me, right? Just in this moment right now. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I have many excuses, which are all valid, but you're right.
Well, and also there's a methodology behind it, because what it did is it now unlocked and invited all those patterns to come forth, because you and I are doing energy. We're healing right now.
Yeah.
I'm holding space. I told you before this.
Yeah.
Tyler, we're going to be doing energy work during this.
Yeah.
And we're going to call forth all of your lost aspects, and we're going to unify them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I love doing what I do, because look, you're on fire, boy. You're on fire.
Yeah,
and that's because and see, you're doing this. I'm just holding space and allowing you to do it. Like when we set up these little trigger points in a healthy way, we now allow opportunity for all these limiting beliefs to come forward and to clear them all, because they don't need to be there. They don't need to be there. And we all deserve this bliss and this joy and this happiness. And the reason why you want to co-create is because you're a human being, and just like the universe, everything is connected. You need connection. When we look at a child, a child in its first, I don't even know the exact time frame, but if it isn't held when it's first born, it will die. We crave connection. Connection is a part of the expansion. The only way we expand, the universe can expand, is through integration, through that connection point, through the allowance of all frequencies to exist as they are in harmony, and then the universe expands in a sense, okay?
Yeah.
So we crave connection as a human species. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to crave connection. That is heart-based creation. The ego, the mind, wants to separate you. Why would I need connection? I am everything. I should not know. What we do is we crave connection, but we have healthy detachment to the connection. So we don't attach or anchor in or hold on. What we do is we release and we stand with it. The honoring process is two souls standing next to each other saying, we're going to walk our paths and we're going to continue doing what we're doing. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like, look at us. In the first little bit of time when we first met, we were working together every day. Or not every day. We're working together every week for a little bit of time. And then what happens is we go off on our journey. And when the timing's right, we both know this. We come back in and we meet up. How's everything going? That's unconditional love right there in the connection process. And this is how we are learning to operate as human beings, is that we crave connection. And that's what you crave, authentic connection too. You just want to be, you want the opportunity for Tyler to be Tyler unconditionally and to be received as Tyler unconditionally, without me having to put on my masks or my veils or what I think you are in my eyes. It's just to be you in your raw, authentic form, and allowing you that opportunity to, and not being judged for it. This is what we all want to be heard. We all want connections. And as soon as we can all, as a species and human race, including in the masculine population, start to understand and accept that that's just what we want and crave, and start to step closer and closer to the alignment, the easier life is going to get. Because then this is when time diminishes. This is when time flows away. There are no problems. It's just us. The only thing that exists is the now in this connection, and the frequency we hold as we unpack and share codes and unlock truths within one another. And as we do this, you can now embody this, and you can go step out into the world and create that connection point with someone else. So now here's another question, Tyler. What is stopping you from building this connection with other people and going out into the world and finding that connection and calling it forth?
Nothing.
Nothing
is stopping me, right? Like the only thing that it's just my barriers that I put in front of myself. That's it. That's the only thing that stops me, is the made up, shoddily put together barriers that I go, well, this is impassable. I guess I got to give up now. Like, look at this. It's held together by spit and dreams. And I know I can't pass this barrier. I've gone through so many things that were so much harder in the grand scheme of things. But it's just getting past my ego, getting past those built-in safety mechanisms, those programs that are saying, oh, I don't know. Do you want to put yourself out there? Do you want to get hurt again? Right? Is that what you want? Because you'll get hurt again, or you'll do this by being vulnerable. And I mean, I might. And I will. But why not do it being me, right? Like you and me first talked about when we first got together, let your weird light shine. Because the other weirdos are looking, right? The other weirdos want to be, they're drawn to it. And they're like, that's the person I want to be. That's the person I want to be inspired by. I want to learn from. I want to become. I want to embody, right? Like I see that they have treasure that's for me as well. And if I keep it hidden and locked behind a door, locked behind all the masks, how is anyone going to know? I'm just going to look like I'm going to blend in with everybody else.
Well, and your love and your light, your treasure within is actually, that is also your quote unquote protection. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you are in full alignment and you are operating from the heart-centered approach, which is that self-love, and you're taking your free will back and your sovereignty, that is now your shield to protect you from harm.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, it is your key. So I've noticed this, that like in reality, okay, we have an emotional reaction to a trigger or something that happens, which offers us an opportunity for more cellular release, or to learn a lesson, or to heal, however we want to look at the perspective, okay? But my perspective is what keeps me from hurt or from growth. Like, so my perspective on the situation, this person did this to me, the victimization is what creates the hurt. The emotional response that allows the level of clearing by switching my perspective. Okay, this person unlocked something within me. I was allowed the opportunity to release that, and now I'm thankful for the experience. That perspective shift has now alchemized that pain into a strong, growing learning lesson. And this is what been my journey has been, as far as the victimization program that I was running, which is pour me, pour me, pour me, pour me another drink, kept fueling that misery. But as soon as I switched my perspective, going, you know what, this person gave me the opportunity to let go of a bunch of crap that I've been holding on to that I haven't been able to let go of. They were the catalyst for that. It's no longer the hurt, it's now the healing, and it's now the relief. There is a relief from release now. So today, when something happens and I'm triggered within, and I can let it out and go, after I let it out, I'm like, oh, and I can breathe again. And it's because, once again, I've been through enough pain cycles and enough dark nights of the soul that I've now landed in this opportunity to live more heart-centered and being able to see that. So the hurt that you're afraid of running from it just seems to be a matter of just a little bit of a perspective shift in recognition that the quantum field met the quantum field to allow an opportunity to release something that you held within that was no longer serving you. It's no longer hurt. It is now a gift. This is how we become alchemists of our reality. It's just a perspective shift. And moments like this and interconnectedness, I can now give you the opportunity to find that divine spark of the alchemist that you hold within. So now you can take this opportunity to alchemize your entire experience and flip your perspective and be able to see the beauty of this entire game of reality. And somebody say it's an illusion and things like that. Well, yeah, it is an illusion. So let's have fun with it. Like, let's dance and play and enjoy this journey. This journey is not meant to be this difficult and this hard. But we get to this level of operating on level expert that we recognize that we are the one that is blocking us from our own joy and happiness. And, you know, we need that. I look at a block today. A block will keep me busy while the universe is processing my order. And I heard this analogy, like, you know, so let's say that you're cleaning up your house, okay? And you just put your child down, and then your child starts to cry. What do you do to keep your child distracted while you're trying to clean up the house and get the house ready and in order? You give them blocks. You give them a block to play with. So sometimes these blocks that you may be seeing as you blocking yourself is a delay response, so the universe can continue to fulfill your order and bring it in and bring it forth to you. So once again, perspective shift is going to change the narrative that you're running, which is going to change the way you look at your reality, which is going to change everything external.
Because perception creates reality.
Exactly. And this is us taking our power back, and our sovereignty is recognizing that today I take my sovereignty back. I'm not going to allow anything presumed consent to run through me that is going to trigger a way that my mind operates, which is going to create a reality that no longer serves me. When I take my sovereignty back, that means that I take my free will back, which means I have choice over what I choose to think of today, which is it's going to give me free will to pick the perspective I want, which is now going to anchor me into the desired reality of my choosing. And this is why I love preaching sovereignty recently, is because this is the thing, is we've got energies and things around us that influence us, programming on TV, you know, other people's programs that are operating and running, that will come and enter my field, change my thought process, and end up allowing something to work through me to create a reality I no longer desire. And so I choose today consciously, as a divine masculine living in this role, that I take my sovereignty back. Nothing is allowed to work through me anymore, because I am a powerful creator, and I co-create with people like you, where we can unpack this stuff and let our beliefs shift to the highest narrative, so we can now create the world we so desire for ourselves and for others. So the collective hologram can catch up with our internal holograms, and we can arrive at.
Yeah, so we can all grow together.
Yeah, grow and glow. That's what we want to do, right? We want to grow and glow. So let's do it, baby. It's time to grow and glow. It's time to grow and glow.
Let those freak lights fly.
Yeah. No. Let them shine. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Well, you know, great discussion. I really kind of want to end it on that note.
Yeah, honestly, that was good. That was a good
that was beautiful.
transition.
So you've got a YouTube page now. I see you've got videos. How can we find you on social media, Mr. Tyler? If you want to make friends, or you want to help people with video editing, or you want to make these beautiful connections, call forth your soul tribe. How can we find you?
I think I don't even know what the name of it is. It's a channel I've had for a long time, and it's just a place right now for my schoolwork to go. But I think people will be seeing more of me once I'm a little more established. For now, just go to my Instagram at We the Meeple.
We the Meeple. Okay, and we will have the links in the description box so people can come find you. Are you currently helping young creators with editing their videos at all?
I do. I've helped a few. I've helped you.
Yes.
I know a few people.
So can I offer your services to people who want to get a young creator to help out if the connection serves and it's something that is within your time frame and your construct?
Absolutely. I'm
putting you out there. I'm putting you on blast.
That's
because I love you, and you do wonderful work. I've seen your video editing, and I love what you do, and I'm glad to see that you are in this alignment right now and making more of these connections. And I'm setting the intention that we call forth every one of your Soul Tribe members to come find you in whatever way, shape, or form. The only inspired action you need to take is go out and be open to receiving every beautiful family member that you need to find for your expansion and growth on this leg of the journey for you.
Absolutely. I'm ready.
All right, bud. All right. Well, great conversations. Thank you once again to everybody out in the Webiverse. If you haven't clicked subscribe, all of my links are in the description box, and there will be a few of Tyler's as well. And with that, we will see you on the other side. Namaste.